What is the shortest possible range of the Volkswagen ID.3? Well, to find out, I'm going to be taking it for a little bit of a spin, and we're going to use as much energy as possible to see just how short a range you can possibly get within realistic reason. So I'm going to be going to pick up Nell from work very, very shortly. So I thought just before that, it's quite late at night, I'll be able to take it out and use as much energy as I possibly can just to see just how short it is possible to get the range. So let's get into the car and let's see how much energy we can use. So here we go then in the car. As I said, it is pretty late at night. You can see it's 23 minutes past 12. Now finishes at 1 a.m. I'm basically going to be using the car as much as I possibly can, but within realistic parameters. So right now, it's about 4.5 degrees outside, so it is pretty cold outside, which is not great for the battery. Batteries prefer a little bit warmer conditions. So I'm going to start the ignition here. Just get a little error in there. That's an airbag error. We'll be taking that to the garage next week to get that fixed. That'll be done under warranty. I'll let you guys know in the next video how that gets fixed. We're going to be doing a software video very, very soon. But you can see here we're on 79% charge at the moment, and we're basically going to use everything we can. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to charge my phone. Okay, that's not going to use much. That's probably going to use maybe 10 watts of power. Nothing really, but it all adds up. And as I said, this is going to be realistic. Obviously, you know, in order to really have the minimal range, you would just sit here with the heater on, the heated seats on, etc., and wouldn't go anywhere. That would give you a 0 range if you sat there for long enough. But I'm trying to do realistic use, but also heavy use. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the heated seats. They'll use quite a bit of power. I will put the left one on. I don't actually know if that will heat up without anyone sat in it, but we'll give it a go. I'm also going to put the heated steering wheel on. I'll have all those on full blast. I'm going to leave the temperature on 21 degrees. So again, you know, I'm not going to be silly. I'm not going to, you know, have the windows all down and have the temperature on really, really high on maximum. You know, quite realistic. AC on, but 21 degrees. Heated seats both sides if you had 2 passengers. Heated wheel, which is, you know, realistic. We have been using those quite a bit as the temperature has been so cold. It is now 5 degrees, so pretty chilly. So that's using quite a lot. We've of course got the headlights on as well, although they are LED headlights. So I don't actually know how much power they use. It wouldn't be a huge amount of power. You know, this isn't an exact worst case scenario. You know, even worse would be if it was absolutely chucking down with rain. You know, that would obviously cause the motors to be used for the wipers, which would also cause a little bit more resistance on the tyres and even on the car with the water on the road. So again, it's not an absolute complete worst case scenario. This is just sort of a realistic worst case scenario. So that's now using quite a bit of power, really. We are now obviously going to drive off, and basically we're just going to do some miles in the car, and we're just going to see how long it takes for that battery charge drop down to about 69% from 79, which is 10% usage, and then we're going to times that distance that we manage by about 10. So you can see right now since start, so that will be the last journey. That will all be reset in just a moment, and that will give us a realistic worst case scenario. I can feel my seat already heating up, so it's using a nice lot of energy for that. So let's get cracking then. If I can actually figure out how to work the car, which I've definitely had now for a couple of weeks, and we're going to see exactly how much range this is going to use. I'm actually going to turn these heated seats down a little because I'm actually getting a little bit hot now. There's a nice little temperature produced by this car, so I'm going to turn these heated seats down to maybe 1, which I think is definitely a sort of temperature that people could sit quite comfortably at for quite some time. I'll do the same to the other side, and I'll do the same to the wheel as well. So, you know, still having a little bit on. Normally I would switch them off because personally I don't like heated seats a huge amount. They're just there ready to warm me up when I'm a bit cold, and then once I'm warm I generally switch them off. But I think some people would keep them on longer term, so I'm going to leave it at that. Leave the temperature at 21 degrees, but again, it's probably warmed the cabin up now, so we've probably been through the worst of the energy consumption. Okay, so I thought I'd just throw in a little bit of motorway speeds there. So we're doing 70 miles an hour, not for very long, literally for a couple of minutes I would guess. I'm also now on a 50 mile an hour road, so I didn't only want to do 30 mile an hour driving. Not a huge amount. I am also now going to switch off the heated seats. So I feel like most people wouldn't have them on permanently, and they do just consume power. So I'm going to switch these off, but of course I'm going to keep the temperatures to 21 degrees, which I think is definitely a possibility that people would just keep that on. See, we're already down to 71% now, so we are really starting to get through the charge. It definitely seemed to plummet a lot quicker when we were down to 70 miles an hour. or when we're up to 70 miles an hour, of course, you know, we've also got a bit of rain here, so that's using the windscreen wiper motors. It's also providing a little bit more resistance through the tyres, where the road's not very wet at the moment, but also through the raindrops hitting the car, but that's very minimal. But yeah, a lot more power consumption when we're hitting 70. Of course, it just takes more power to be doing that speed. We've got more air resistance, and you know, of course, no chance either to regen, whereas when you're around town, you're constantly accelerating and de-accelerating, giving the battery a chance to regen a little bit. Whereas on these sort of roads, when you're constant speed, you're just constantly draining that battery, not giving it any chance whatsoever to drain. So not far off now. Remember, we're going to get down to 69%, that's our target, but then we will then take it down to 68% just to make sure we cover off the decimal places for the battery percentage, and then we'll have an idea of how much the minimum range of a Volkswagen ID.3 will be. So there it is then, guys. We are now down to 68% charge. We've actually used 11%, or somewhere between 10 and 11%. We are now heading downhill, so that may actually go up slightly. So we can probably call that 10%, considering we're about to recharge a little bit. And there we go then. So that is confirmation. 20 miles we managed to do on about 10% charge. We averaged 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour. That did go up slightly at the end as we turned down the heated seats and that sort of thing. And actually, we have seen recently that our average mileage has been a little bit less than that even. And if I look at the long term here, see, 2.5 miles is our average over the last 336 miles. So we've actually been averaging less than what we just got there. 2.7 we're on now, and that's interesting, and that is pretty short because we tend to do more shorter trips. So it just means that we are just using more of the heater. We're asking the heater to warm the cabin up really quickly. We're doing a little bit of heated seats when we get in the car a lot of time. We're asking the aircon to clear the windows. We're asking for the heated wheel. There's a lot we're asking for there, and of course as well, everything's just not quite up to temperature. So you know, everything just works a bit more efficiently when it's warmer, whereas when it's stone cold, it doesn't work at its most efficient. So interestingly, as you go on, clearly it gets more and more efficient, but I still think we can extrapolate from that 10%. Of course, you know, we're not talking about what your absolute full range would be over the course of a whole long journey, because you know, that's well documented elsewhere of people doing really long journeys. We're trying to find out what an absolute worst case scenario of your range will be, and it seems then 20 miles, we can times that by about 10, that means you get about 200 miles or so. Let's have a check now where we're at. So still on 68%, because again, we're going downhill a lot of the way now. So that means you can get around about 200 miles from a charge. Absolute worst case scenario. Well, not absolute worst case scenario, realistic worst case scenario. Absolute worst case scenario, of course, you can get 0 miles from a whole charge if you just sat there and just made it warm, keep you nice and warm. But that seems reasonable to me. The claimed mileage of this one, I think it's about 260 miles or so. So the fact that it can get to 200 miles even on a realistic worst case scenario seems pretty good to me. You know, like us though, if you do constantly do really short journeys, as in, you know, 5 or 10 minute journeys where you're going, give me heated seats, give me some heat out of the heater, clear the windscreen for me, you know, all that sort of thing, then you can potentially see less than that. You can see Nell is now calling me. I need to go pick her up from work. But that rounds that video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that. How do I silence that? There we go. We'll silence that. We're on our way to see her now. We'll be there in a few minutes. We'll silence her for now. But anyway, guys, that rounds out that video. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. 200 miles seems reasonable to me, as I said. So let me know if you enjoyed that. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and I thank you for watching. Bye-bye.